Welcome to Triumphant Thursdays on Tea Time with Afternoon Social. Every Thursday, we talk to ladies who share their stories of achieving amazing things, big and small. They have overcome challenges, defied the odds, and made their dreams come true. Grab your favorite cup of brew and join us as we lift each other up and inspire each other to reach for the stars. Good afternoon, and welcome to Tea Time with Afternoon Social. I'm Teresa Lauterbach, your host. And we have a guest all the way from England today. Her name is Abbie Carr, and she's the founder and franchisor of LoveScience, a children's science activities business. But through some personal issues, she became divorced and a single mom to 3 children. But she persevered and grew her business and found love again, moved across country, became a granny and a stepmom. And to that, she was elected to the local government. Busy. But here on Triumphant Thursdays, we're going to talk to her about adversity to entrepreneur and hear her story of resilience. So, hi, Abbie. How are you today?
Hi, Teresa. I'm good. Nice to be here.
So it sounds like you had a rough road, and I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and give us a little background and tell us what ignited your entrepreneurial passion and some of the adversity you faced. So what's your little bit of your backstory there?
I'm an entrepreneur totally by accident, really. So my background's in teaching, and I was a science teacher for a long time. And my ex-husband was in the army. And after his last tour that he did back in 2010, he developed combat PTSD, and he was quite suddenly quite poorly. And he'd left the army, and he was actually working over in the States, and he just kind of crashed and couldn't do it anymore. So he came home, and all of a sudden, kind of lost everything. At the time, the kids were little. We've got quite a big age gap between the kids. So my eldest was about 14 and had a 7-year-old, and the youngest was only 1. So at the time, we had this kind of lovely post-army life sorted. We'd moved to a house in the countryside, and he had a good wage. He was working with an oil company, and suddenly that was it, nothing. He couldn't work. He'd left the army, and there wasn't very much support there. At the time, I was still on maternity leave. I hadn't gone back to work. And we were kind of, not destitute, but only just not destitute. And so I was kind of suddenly faced with, I could have gone back to teaching. But as any teachers out there will know, I mean, there's great things about teaching, but one thing it is not is flexible, day to day. And first of all, I had the 3 kids, and then he needed a lot of support. He wasn't able to help out in any kind of the ways that maybe a partner would. So I suddenly thought, well, I need to now earn enough to kind of pay our mortgage and keep the family going, but still be a carer, I guess, and a parent. So having looked at all my options and realizing that I was probably quite unemployable, and all I could do was teach. It's kind of, I've been a teacher since I was 23. So I decided to just start doing a few kind of science workshops, a bit like tuition, kind of home ed tuition, just to keep the wolf from the door and be as flexible as I could around the family and around his needs and doctor's appointments and things like that. And of course, if you've ever had to kind of deal with is the wrong word, but be around a family member with a really severe mental illness, it's kind of all consuming. It's a really challenging environment, and you never quite know what you're expecting one day to the next.
Right.
So totally by accident, I started doing these little clubs, and luckily it took off. And I only really intended to do it short term until we'd figured out what was going on we had a little bit of money because kids are expensive, aren't they? Whatever's going on in your life, kids are expensive.
Yeah.
And actually it took off, and I realized I loved this way of working, of being really flexible. It allowed me to be all the things I needed to be, and yes, still have a roof over our head. So yes, a totally accidental and entrepreneur story. So I didn't have any burning desire as a child, no like lemonade stands or washing cars or anything like that. It was like a plea of desperation in my 30s that led me to it.
And a gift to yourself.
Yes.
Right. So then you're starting to build a business, and then what you said, you found love again and moved across the country. And how did all that change affect you?
Yes. So having done that, so as I guess the years progressed, it's a pretty fraught time when he was ill, and we had to end up moving a bit closer to my parents for some support. But also there is we have a big army base, Catterick Army Base, which is in the north of England, which is near where they lived, and they have I guess the equivalent is like the Veterans Association. I think it is over there. Yeah. We have the Help for Heroes, which is a charity that offers a lot of support to both veterans and their families. And so we moved closer, so he could get support from there, but it was me that really got most of the support. They have a scheme called the Band of Sisters, which is for wives, mums, girlfriends, or husbands and boyfriends, of injured and wounded servicemen, and they really helped me to get through this kind of trauma, really, I suppose. And actually I went I guess a defining moment is I signed up to do a trek along the Great Wall of China with them in 2016. And that was kind of, I guess, the first thing in years that I'd done for myself, although it was to raise money for charity. So and I guess maybe slightly ironically, that was probably the end of our marriage as well, because we'd reached a point where the crisis of his mental illness was over, but he couldn't take the next step to get better. And sadly, part of that, I guess, was being around us. If he had a bad day, he felt terribly guilty. And so it was kind of, we decided the best thing would be to separate, and he could go off and heal and do what he needed to do to get himself better. Yeah. And I would bring up the kids. It seems like a fair exchange.
Yeah.
But so we did that. And then after a bit of time on my own, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed, I never ever thought I would do it, but I started online dating through total peer pressure, I have to say.
Yeah.
And and I really, really enjoyed it. I know that there's horror stories and you've got to be safe and everything, but I had a wonderful time. And then I met my now partner online, and we had got the geography a little bit wrong about where each other lived. So when we met, we realised we lived a lot further apart than we thought. So we spent, with 5 kids between us, we zoomed up and down the country for 18 months. Yeah. And then I finally moved over to be with him. Moved the kids over.
Sounds like that's a big adventure in itself.
Yes, it was, yeah. We were a bit nomadic because we were an army family. We were a bit nomadic anyway. So the kids are quite used to packing up everything and just waking up in a different county somewhere else. Right.
So now your business, well, then that was a big advantage too, having your business that you could do from home and take it with you if you'd had a...
Oh, yeah, 100%. And we'd grown it quite big where we were. And that's where we started franchising actually as well, because when I moved across country, essentially said to the people that work with me, okay, well, I'll keep you on. We can have it as a separate branch, or you can, sell it and I'll sell it to you and run as a franchise. And that's what one of the members of staff did. And so, yeah, that was the start of that kind of adventure as well, the business adventure.
Yeah.
So that's going great guns over there. Yeah.
That's an interesting concept to be able to franchise out, that you had a model that you could do that with. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked really well. I think people always thought we were a franchise, actually. And I got really precious about it. Like, oh, no one could ever do it except me, which of course is total nonsense, isn't it? Sometimes we overestimate our own, that, we're so unique.
Right.
And yeah, so that was a big lesson in letting go, I have to say. I found it a little bit difficult, but yeah, it was a good move.
But you at least still have some control because it is a franchise. And
yes, absolutely. Although Emma, who runs it, is absolutely fantastic, and I don't think needs any control whatsoever. Yeah, she's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because it still can be done the way you intended it to be, but not have to be the one in charge all the time and take care of it business.
Yeah. Yes, no, it works well. It's a good model, actually. It works well because you can maintain all the bits that you loved about it.
Yeah.
But, with some fresh eyes as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I take it your kids are doing a lot better now, and you're you live on a farm, and how's all that working out for you?
Yeah, it's working out well. We haven't got to do anything very farmy, so that works out well. We just get to enjoy the scenery. Yes, it's good. It's good. With my eldest, because she was a teenager when her dad got poorly, it was difficult for her. She understood much more about what was going on, and of course she had her own stuff to deal with, and then this kind of family crisis that we had that the other two were a bit more insulated from. Mm-hmm. But no, she's going well. She's got a little girl now, so that's lovely. And they moved with us as well, so they don't live too far away. So that's good.
Well, that probably makes Grandma feel better, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, yeah, a bit less guilty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you have any last bits of wisdom or advice to leave with our audience for today?
I think that the one thing that I've learned is that when it all feels like it's going wrong, there is some hope, but you sometimes have to think outside the box. I remember in the very, very darkest moments, it felt for me like I just needed the world to slow down. It felt quite tangible that I couldn't move as fast as the world, and I couldn't kind of grasp everything. But I think we all of us, we live our lives in the way that we think we should, don't we? We have our patterns and our stories. And sometimes you just have to rejig that and the answer appears. But there is always an answer. It's just sometimes you have to dig a little deep to find it.
And let go a little bit.
And let go, yes.
Yes. So things can change.
Yes. And that's the thing, isn't it? Change is invariably good. Hard, but invariably good. That's why it presents itself to you.
Right. You don't know all the opportunities you can have if you don't allow that change to happen. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here today on Triumphant Thursdays. And Abbie's going to join us again tomorrow on Friends Day Fridays, and she's going to talk a little bit about love treks and kind of tell us more about her trek across the Great Wall of China and some other interesting information. So please tune in tomorrow. And thank you again, Abbie, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.